boy, I can't wait to watch the latest episode of Theories and Ideas Consider Forbidden. Huh, I'm so excited. Oh yeah, I already know it's gonna be good today. It's gonna be a great day. Some new theories, something new to learn and tell my friends, and maybe they're gonna think I'm crazy, but whatever. I'm just gonna. Oh yeah, I'm so excited. This is gonna be absolute fire. I can say that for sure. Hello, folks. Welcome to my podcast, Theories and Ideas Consider Forbidden. I'm your host, Nick, and today's topic is gonna be about Malaysian Airlines Flight 370. Now, in case some of you folks aren't aware, over 12 years ago in 2014, March 8th to be exact, a Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, to be exact, a Boeing 777 takes off from Kuala Lumpur on the way to Beijing. Now, everything in the flight was going just fine. There was no real issues with the plane. But except for, like 40 minutes in, the plane disappeared from transponders on radar. And, which, left the plane's current whereabouts, unknown. It was, gone. Straight up gone. Yeah. Now, before I start moving on to some theories, let's talk about the more important details, such as the pilot. Now, the pilot of Malaysian Airlines Flight 370 was Captain Zahadi Ahmad Shah, a very well-rounded pilot in Malaysian Airlines. He loved flying, he had a nice family, like the wife and kids. In his home, he had a flight simulator in his house, which is pretty cool. You can definitely tell he loved his job, just because, who else wouldn't have a flight simulator in the house if they didn't love flying, right? But yeah, overall, he was a nice guy. He was generous, he helped people that were in need, especially the elderly, from what I've heard. And yeah, no real issues. He was pretty much clean. But on that fateful night, March 8th, the plane disappeared. I know, crazy, right? Now, the plane disappeared from navigation systems, which in some cases can be normal. It could be maybe a mechanical fault, or maybe the plane moved out of range. But in this case, none of those were true. From what I've heard, the plane was heading towards Beijing, like I said earlier, and it would have been communicating with the next SCT tower next to Beijing. But as they waited and waited and waited, still no sign of MH370. Now, many theorists and investigators speculate where the plane could have gone. Well, we actually do know where it went. See, there's a thing called radar, and radar is something that you can't turn off unless you're a stealth plane, but we're ignoring that. But yeah, radar is something that you cannot really avoid because it's a physical thing. Now, I won't go into detail how radar works. That's your own little thing I'm not a radar expert, okay? I don't really know, all right? Go to some radar podcast. I don't know, man. I'm just here to talk about theories and stuff. Anyways, but yeah, according to Malaysian military radar, they discovered that the plane steered sharply off course towards the Indian Ocean, which honestly is quite concerning because why would the plane be heading towards the Indian Ocean? It's a very remote place, except for the coast of Australia. Now, after the plane had gone missing, a lot of people were panicking, and quite reasonably too, because how does a Boeing 777 disappear without a trace? Officials made an investigation after the disappearance to figure out what could have happened. First, they checked Zahari's house and questioned his wife and kids. They didn't come up with much. They just said that, the same thing I said earlier. He was a pretty good guy. Yeah, he didn't have any issue, no financial issues or anything. And when they checked the co-pilot, still no issues. They found nothing. No, no real motive they could find out. But when they checked Zahari's flight simulator, they found something very shocking. A pre-planned route that matches the path the plane took when it turned towards the Indian Ocean. This implies that Zahari planned it all from the start, which supports theories that Zahari may have committed suicide. Though, what bothers me most is that why would he do it? Why would someone with such a good life, like a wife and kids and a great job that they love to do, just commit suicide like that? Just throw everything all away. It does not make any sense. So I think that those theories are quite wrong, because it doesn't make any sense, does it? Why would you do it? Even do it? It wouldn't make any sense. Even so, today in 2026, that incident still affects those families, knowing that they'll never see their loved ones ever again. I honestly feel bad for them. Just imagining that one day you see your family or your loved one go on a plane, then next thing you know, the company's like, oh, we lost them. Damn. Now, some of you may think where the plane could have gone, where like the plane's fate, where the wreckage could have been. And I'm glad you asked that. Well, maybe you didn't ask that, but whatever. But yeah, I do know someone who might know where the plane could have gone. Please welcome Mr. Dr. Squabble.
Hello, good day everyone. My name is Dr. Squabble, and I'm a scientist with the International Flight Analysis Bureau.
Hello, Dr. Squabble. How was your day today?
Pretty good. But I think we have a question to answer.
Yes, we do, Mr. Dr. Squabble. So, judging from your experience, where do you think we can find MH370?
Well, I'm glad you asked, actually. Because the way we're going to find MH370 is by using barnacles.
Barnacles, you say? How's that going to work?
To put in layman's terms, we discovered that ocean barnacles preserve traces of the water they grew in throughout different stages of their lives. By finding a piece of the debris that may have come from MH370 and analyzing the barnacles attached to it, scientists can effectively read a record of the waters that debris passed through. This can provide valuable clues about where the wreckage originated and help build a clearer picture of the aircraft's final journey and fate.
So you're saying barnacles, the thing that stick to the bottom of ships, that, a lot of sailors usually shovel off, can be the key to finding the wreckage of MH370?
Yes.
Wow. That is impressive.
That's science for you. You'd be surprised how many answers lie in something that looks completely ordinary.
Anyways, enough about that. I want to discuss some theories with you. I've been told you're a theorist.
Yes, I was an aspiring theorist ever since I watched game theory and other sorts of documentaries.
I love game theory. It's too bad MatPat left.
Real shame.
Alright, back to theories. Alright, so getting to theories. A lot of people think that MH370 crashed from pilot suicide. What do you think of those theories? Do you think that's true?
Well, I think it's really important to look into both sides of the argument of whether or not it was deliberate or that we don't know for sure. So let's take your side of the argument real quick, or the side of the theories that you've been getting, is that many investigators believe that someone in the cockpit intentionally turned off MH370's communication systems. And the plane didn't just disappear, but it also changed course, stopped talking to air traffic control, and kept flying for hours afterwards. And to investigators, that looks more like a person making decisions than a random accident.
But it doesn't really make sense to me, does it? Because, why would Zahari commit suicide anyways? He's such a, a great guy. He's got a... It doesn't make any sense. It just makes my head itch, damn.
But this is also why we have to argue the other side. Because people argue also that we can't be certain because the main wreckage and flight recorders haven't been found. And while the events look suspicious, there could have been an unknown emergency or equipment failure that caused the crew to lose control or communication. But without direct evidence, they say it's impossible to prove what happened. The most experts agree that evidence leans towards more deliberate human action, but they also admit that it isn't conclusive, because the aircraft's behavior is hard to explain as a normal accident, yet there isn't enough evidence to say with absolute certainty that someone intentionally caused the disappearance.
Now, I've heard that a lot of people commonly mistake MH17 and 370. Do you know any of the differences between the two?
Yes, actually. While in the similar year, done in the same year, they weren't actually done within the same month as some people believe. So, MH370 was lost on March 8th of 2014, whilst MH17 was lost on July 17th of 2014. And the main difference here being that MH17 flew in from Amsterdam, the Netherlands, to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, while MH370 was flying out of Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, China. And the major difference between the two flights is that 370 mysteriously vanished, while we do know the fate of 17, as it was shot down by a Russian surface-to-air missile while cruising over the conflict zone in eastern Ukraine.
Why do you think MH17 was shot down?
Well, it was flying over the conflict zone in eastern Ukraine, and I believe it was just simply mistaken for military aircraft. But we do know that the Russians were the ones that shot them down, because after an extensive investigation by the Joint Investigation Team, a Dutch court ruled in 2022 that the missile was supplied by Russia and used by Russian-controlled separatist forces. And 3 individuals were convicted of murder in absentia and sentenced to life in prison.
Some other theories suggest that say extraterrestrials may have been involved. You know, like aliens, like ET, and you know.
Well, the alien theory is possible in the sense that almost anything is possible, but there is currently no evidence supporting it, while there is evidence supporting more ordinary explanations. So I would rather lean into that than to consider that aliens were even a force at play here.
So I heard that an American conspiracy theorist, who goes by the name of James H. Fetzer, I think it is, he assumes that the plane went missing, and places the responsibility on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. What do you think of that? Do you think maybe he's involved somehow?
I do not believe that Benjamin Netanyahu was responsible for the accident, but you never know with conspiracy theorists. They'll find a way to draw strings to anything.
I would also like to mention a similar case with Air France Flight 447. I can't remember how it crashed, but I'm guessing you know about that story as well.
Well, yeah, actually, one of the biggest things regarding 447 in comparison to 370 is that they both had some similarities, yet 447 has a more clear outcome. So let's get started with the main points. Both of these planes disappeared over remote oceans. Both required massive search operations, and both sparked years of speculation. But here's where they differed. 447 sent fault messages before crashing, and the debris was found within days, yet the crash area was still roughly known. And the black boxes were recovered after 2 years. But why this matters to 370 is that 447 shows that ocean crashes can remain mysterious for years, even after. But once they found the black box, the cause became pretty clear. 370's main wreckage and black boxes are still missing, so its final moments remain uncertain. But 447 demonstrates that debris alone cannot reliably determine whether an aircraft's final descent was controlled or uncontrolled, which is another reason why our barnacle theory isn't going to be a saving grace. But we're hoping that with its ability to track its previous waters that it had grown in, we should be able to find the originating site of the crash.
Now Oh, looks like that's all the time we have on for today. Thanks for coming in today, Mr. Dr. Scobble.
Thank you for having me.
Anyways, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week on the next podcast, guys. See ya. I'm just gonna